Hey guys, this is V-Man from No Budget Productions, and with me today is Cheeto. Oh, actually, this way. There we go. Cheeto, how are we doing today, man?
Hanging in there.
All right, good deal, good deal. Well, for those of you guys that don't know, we're doing things a little different today. This is actually it's not live. We are pre-recorded. So if you see a little sleep in Cheeto's eyes, he just woke up and I just got off work. So if you guys are leaving comments in the chat and we don't respond or you don't see it flash on the screen, that's why. And the reason being is Cheeto and I always have kind of off schedules and everything, and my internet at work doesn't always work. So, for me to do a pizza roll diaries with Cheeto, we had to kind of sync our schedules up per se. So this is the only way to do it. So we had to pre-record this. Um, that's how much dedication and love we have for you guys. You know, so that being said, we're going to muster our way through this. But I wanted to talk with my good buddy Cheeto about his film. Now, you, my friend, have created not only your own channel uh, with NerdTube, where you talk, thrips and quip. What is it?
Thwips and quips, or quips and thwips.
There you go, man. Like I can't pronounce it, but I love it when you invite me on and I can make it. Like I love it because we talk geek, we talk nerddom. Um, Hopefully we can talk a little bit about that today because there's a lot of good things going around. But you do that. You talk, comic stuff. You talk nerd stuff. You talk Star Trek stuff. You have a little bit of everything on Nerd too. But you have your own kind of universe there on the page. Um, but a lot of people don't know deep hidden in your past, you have your own film.
Just one.
What just there's no hidden vault, huh? That you have,
No.
okay. What was what was the hidden motivations? What was the name of the film? What was the hidden motivations? What was it like? What was your involvement on that? Let's go back into the past of past Cheeto. What was that like? Well, actually, your name wasn't even that. It wasn't Cheeto. It was it was something else. What was
It
that?
was Bobby Black.
Ah, there we go. So what
And
what was the film?
the film was called Dimensional Turmoil. It was me and my buddy, his name on the channel was Wesley White. Well, Wrestling White at the beginning. And what we did is it was just a monthly behind the scenes talk soup style show about like all it was called the Unsquared Circle, and just behind the scenes stuff going on in wrestling. So and so got a contract re-signing, so and so got busted for drugs. So we did a lot of like the behind the scenes stuff, not just the and all the stuff that happens on the shows. We didn't review shows. We did like a all the news. We did it monthly because it was a bit easier for our schedules and stuff like that. So probably I mean, but this was in 2008, 2009. Um so, the internet was around, obviously. And obviously there was stuff online and everything, but we would just gather stuff throughout the month, and then we would just have our little quirky ways of delivering the news.
Talk about the
Um
gossip behind the scenes.
yeah, the gossip behind the scenes. Um and yeah, so we would have this, fun monthly show where we would talk about this. And I mean, we tried to make it, serious, and then we would have these like parody moments, where we would parody certain things that we like. There was one month we parodied when the Dark Knight came out, we parodied Batman and Joker. Obviously, this is back in 2008, 2009, which is when those movies came out. In 2009, we parodied Star Trek because the new Star Trek movie came out. We did 1 month of parody of the Angry Video Game Nerd and the Nostalgia Critic because they had some big internet fight back in the day, and so we just thought it was hilarious. So we decided to parody them 1 month. So I mean, there was just a ton of stuff. So what Dimensional Turmoil was we were coming up on our 1 year anniversary of doing shows. And by no means were we like a popular show or anything like that. I mean, we averaged about 300 views a month, and back then in YouTube that was not that much. At least it felt like it. Because there weren't as many YouTube creators out there at that point.
That was the early days of YouTube. Yeah, that was much different
Mhm.
landscape than it is now, right?
Yes. Um and we only had, I think, like 400 and some subscribers, I think. I mean, as I said, I mean, not a lot, but I had this itch to just create and to do things. And so one day I just was sitting and said, wouldn't it be hilarious if, like, my original inspiration was, there was a movie that was called, it was an animated movie called uh TMNT Forever, which is an animated Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie where it's the 2000s turtles and the 80s turtles come together, and they have to fight, like, the Shredder and stuff like that of both their eras.
Mhm.
And so I'm like, wouldn't it be hilarious if we just took all of our parodies and just mashed them together and, crossed them between, and just did this stupid dimensional turmoil, you know? And so it just spun out of control from there. I had some buddies who had helped me out with some unsquared circle stuff, who you'll see in the film. I had one of the guys in there was my former roommate from years and years and years ago, years prior. Um, and yeah, it just kind of spiraled. We were just like, let's just do this big old thing, and that's where that came from. And so I probably about 9 months into the unsquared circle, I started planning this. 10 months we started filming, and then 2 months later on our anniversary date came out.
See, and that's one of those things when when the creative juices start flowing, yeah, at least oh, Rufus is playing with Mona's uh, bless his heart. That's one of the things when you start writing a script, getting the let's do this, let's create this, let's make this scene. At least for me, when I start doing something like that, like it's almost like the sky's the limit. Uh, what was it like for you, starting to put gather the characters and the different parodies you've done? What was it like putting the script together? A leads to B leads to C, and crafting the actual story of what you would do with your different characters. Because it seemed to go flawlessly, but you actually had to put everything together to make it a cohesive story. What was it like, that process for you to do that?
I mean, really, my first part was, who would be really funny to cross over. And so, I mean, you'll see in there, I mean, there, that's why I was kind of like, okay, so who would be funny to see crossing over and doing things together? That's why, like, I mean, if anyone hasn't seen the film, that's why I put the Joker on the Enterprise. I mean, but what would happen if Joker got on the Enterprise? Well,
Right,
he'd blow it up. I mean,
right.
you know, um, and then having
Yes.
a Vulcan face off against the nostalgia critic, although he was called the wrestling critic in the parody, but
Right.
like the nostalgia critic versus a Vulcan, like, I was just like, where could I have the most fun with crossing people over, and that's kind of where I went and did. Um, and that's kind of where that kind of came from. Um, I don't know. What was the original question? I don't know. I kind of tangent.
No, no, no. Going from to B, C,
Oh,
crafting the story for what you wanted to do. Like, was it difficult to do that, or did it kind of flow?
I,
Um,
I knew that, because I knew that I wanted it, because back then in YouTube there were you can only have 15-minute videos. Yeah. So I knew I had to have two parts for what I was looking to do. So originally my first thought was, part one was going to be all the crossovers, everything mashes up, everything gets set up. And part two was going to be where everything's, the actual story kicks off. And I mean, it didn't quite pan out that way, but now that Frank has kind of merged it together, I mean, it doesn't matter, part one and part two. So, but the second half, I would say maybe like the second half, like the second half of Act Two, maybe. you kind of see things start to come together story wise. And if I could critique my own film a bit more, I like the climax kind of fizzle. Well, I don't even want to say fizzled, but like the villain like of this whole thing just kind of fizzled, and that was kind of more of a decision just because we did. It's not that I had more written. I the villain wasn't really the focus of the video, but now hindsight 10 years later, I'm like, I kind of wish I would have done more with the villain of the movie because
You
like
would
he kind
kind
of
of
gets
done
hit
things
with
a little differently.
yeah. Um,
What would
because he
you
gets
what would you
he
have done differently if you could go back and kind of redo it a little bit differently? What would you have done a little differently?
actually I don't know. I really don't. I just felt like it fizzled out, and as I said, the villain was not the main focus. The main focus was the crossovers and then just the characters overall. So, I mean, does it really matter? No. Like what happens with the villain because the villain's not the main focus. He shows up for he shows up for tension and then he gets like, taken out pretty quickly. I mean, he's not even in there that long technically. I literally had 1 day and 4 hours of shooting with the actor, well, the my friend who played who played Galactic Gary. So I mean,
Well, sometimes I found, because a lot of times when I go on set, I'm spending, you know I'm making, five films, in a, 10-hour period, 8-hour period. So a lot of the criticisms I get, when people nitpick something, I'm like, I made five films in one day. What more can you expect? So it seems from what you did, from a lot of what you've talked about, not only here but from, on Critical Not Cynical when we discussed the film, a lot of what you did, you really only had a certain amount of time to film some of the things, and then it was kind of okay, we've got that. Okay, now let's work with what we have. And a lot of times when you're making a film, it's like you kind of only have a certain amount of time, and then it's kind of one and done. We don't have the resources of, a
reshoots.
2 weeks. Yeah, exactly. You can't get pickup shots. In a perfect world you can, but most of the time we're not paying our actors, they're just volunteers, and they have, a 9 to 5 job, they have families, they have life outside of the film, you know. So you can only really do what you can do, and sometimes you know a like I think they call them two takes breaks or something like that. Sometimes you only get that two takes and that's it. I think the film, and anyone who's watching the film, the link is in the description. Please watch the film, and then pause this. Watch the film, come back to it, and continue the interview. But watch the film. I recommend it. It's a great film. It's not the most glossed over film. you know, uh, you know, Independent films usually aren't that way, and that's okay. But you can see the heart that's in the film. It's a bunch of friends getting together, making a film, and you can see that here. Um, but I think with what you have, you can see the friendship that you guys had, the fun that you guys had. Um, One of the things, and we discussed this last time, was the jumping over the couch, uh, that your friend did, um, and some of the antics that you guys had behind the scenes. Um, the time on set that I've had, you build that kind of camaraderie with your actors. Some people you've only met once, but you get that family feeling. Obviously, you worked with all your people because they were in your skits. Um, what was it like after you guys had made the film? Um, what was it like, before making the film and then afterwards? What was it like, the camaraderie with you guys afterwards?
Well, I mean, a lot of the everybody in this film were friends of mine. So I mean, we had known each other prior to. The villain was my former roommate. He lives in Alabama. Well, at that point and still now, he lived in Alabama. But he came up and he was visiting and I said, "Hey man, we're doing this thing. You want to have some fun?" The other gentleman in it, the guy who, completed the antics as you say over the couch, Um, he's actually my now ex brother-in-law, which I've always been good friends with even before we were, you know, marriage related. Um, so and he was all for it because back in the day, actually, before I even met them, they were doing Star Wars fan film type things in their backyard. They went and
Oh,
saw Phantom Menace in '99, and so when they got back, they of course were in the backyard with the camera creating some kind of goofy. I don't remember what it was. This was before I met them,
uh,
but some goofy stuff in the backyard, and it was like Monty Python and the Holy Grail meets, and I don't even know where it is. I don't even think it's on the internet because this is the
mhm,
'99. I think it's on a
right,
VHS somewhere.
right, right.
But it's like a Monty Python, and so I said, hey, this is I have this. I do have a script. I know you guys kind of did your own thing, but I'm like, what do you guys think about doing this? And they were both all for it. Um, so and as I said, I mean the girl in it is my ex-wife, my wife at the time. She had a lot of fun doing it. Because in the show she was called Anonymous Angel, and she did our Diva Detour, which is where that we had talked about all the diva news and all the diva stuff behind the scenes. So I mean she was in it too. Um, so I mean so that's where a lot of those cast members came from, and I mean, I still talk to them. I sent them after we did Critical Not Cynical. I sent them the link, and I said these guys are reviewing. Remember that film we did 10 years ago? I said these guys are reviewing it and talking about it and everything like that. And they said, "Oh man," like we were all just like. But I'm still in contact
Reminiscing,
with them.
huh?
Yeah. So
That's awesome.
so they were excited to hear that. But yeah, it was our relationships have all kind of stayed the same. I mean, like they've just been status quo. Like we're all friends. We've been friends. There wasn't many. There was one or two camera people that were also friends that you guys did not see on camera at all. And I'm still friends with them because they were my friends before.
Right.
Actually, one of them comes to Nerd Night, so which is my weekly show where we sit down and watch nerdy TV shows like the CW shows and any other show, like any other nerd shows. We watch like the Disney Plus shows and stuff like that. So
Well, uh, speaking of your other shows that you have, um, so you have a gaming channel
mhm.
on on YouTube, where you discuss um old gaming systems, new or
No, I play old games.
okay, play old games.
Well, and I
What
don't even
exactly?
play old. I play new games. It's just gaming, like because right now I'm playing Ghost of Tsushima, the director's cut. I'm playing Wing Commander, the original, and I'm playing Oxygen Not Included. Those are kind of my three games, but it's also a family gaming channel. But not everything on there is family friendly because my girlfriend gets on there sometimes and she'll play Resident Evil.
Mhm.
So I mean, it's kind of a hodgepodge of whatever. But I got my kids involved in it and my girlfriend's involved in it, and so I mean, we've been doing it for about a year now, maybe a little over a year.
I was going to say when you and I first became friends, I saw a couple of the games, and Royce watched a few of the games, and I thought it was family friendly because
All my
I
all my
like.
kids well, all my kids' content is. Like, if they're watching kids like, if they're watching my kids play, it's definitely family friendly. Like, my son, he plays Roblox, Minecraft, Luigi's Mansion 3, Ghostbusters, well, as family friendly as I can be sometimes. Uh, and stuff like that. My daughter plays she's really only done one game so far, but she plays sporadically. It's really me and my son who plays more. And then my girlfriend plays sporadically. My daughter plays sporadically. My daughter right now is playing Dragon Quest Builders because she likes Minecraft, but she also likes how Dragon Quest is like this adventure that's, and you have dragons and all this other and castles and all this other stuff. So she saw me playing it a couple years ago and she was like, Dad, I think I want to play that on stream. And I said, okay. So
Well, that's
But
one of the
no,
things that
anything that is kid oriented on the channel is family friendly. But as I said, maybe I was thinking about one day doing like a milk toast gaming for kids, but like I've got 57 subscribers, so it's like I'm not going to split to a separate channel just to do that. So anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
that's one of the things that I love about video games. Like you know, for me, video games was pretty important. I loved the Mario series. Mario 3 was really impactful to me as a kid. I still remember that, the crowd of people, chanting Mario, 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 um, to me, I even looked up that commercial on YouTube to see if I could find it, and I got goosebumps, just seeing it. Um, and I remember when my grandparents, because I lived right next to them, for about a year, um, and I'd go over because they went and bought the game, and I'd run over to their house and play it because they had a Nintendo in the back room. But like video games was very important to me at the time because I didn't have a Nintendo, not at that age. Um, but when Mona and I had Royce, like I got one of those little handheld emulators, and I had like all these games put on it. So I had, I have well, you see my video game collection. Like I have all the games bought, so I'm like, screw it, I don't feel bad having an emulator with all the games on it. But I wanted him to play the games with me once he got old enough. So him and me playing video games back and forth, like it's a good bonding thing, between me and him. So like I said, when he watched, a few of the games on your channel, go on, I was like, man, this is kind of a cool deal. What system would you say? Because I don't know modern stuff, so let's kick it back a little bit. What of the older systems is kind of your go-to of the older systems?
I mean, growing up, I owned an NES. Well, my family owned an NES and a Sega, and then we never had a Super Nintendo. We had the Sega, and then we went to N64.
Mhm.
So I mean, and that's where my gaming really kicked off because you had games like Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time,
Yep.
and all the wrestling games and stuff like that. I mean, WCW NWO Revenge. A lot of my friends were getting PlayStations. I had an N64. I eventually got a PlayStation, but I was pretty content with my N64 and playing all my awesome games. Star Fox 64, Mario 60. I mean, the whole plethora of them.
Well, that's
Um,
great.
so yeah, so I mean, that's kind of where things kicked off for me. I mean, but it really kicked into high gear when I got a PlayStation and I played Final Fantasy 7. So I mean, that's kind of my history on it is I played Final Fantasy 7 and I was hooked like on video games and RPGs and stuff like that. Growing up, I did a lot of PC playing though. Um, as I said, Wing Commander that came out in 1990. That's what I'm playing right now. I mean, I played all those back in the day when they first came out. Wing Commander, X-Wing, TIE Fighter. I even played the Star Trek 25th anniversary of a game. Was it? Huh?
So God, that's going back. That's going
I
back a ways.
Listen. I would not be surprised if that did not show up on my channel here in the future. I haven't slated it yet, but I mean, it might. It might be happening. I think Star Trek Judgment Day,
Mhm.
Star Trek Birth of the Federation is one of my favorite games of all time. I don't know if you ever played it. It is a turn-based build your empire. So you can start off as the Klingon Federation, Cardassians, and Ferengi, I think. Yeah, can you believe that? An empire building game with the because back I think when this first came out, there was no Dominion yet.
Mhm.
But it's a great game. It's an awesome game. But that kind of jump started my love of like empire building games, like empire management and stuff like that. But it was
Right.
Federation, like it was Star Trek. So
Well, I never played that one, but I played Star Trek Armada, and I
oh
loved.
yeah, I played Armada too.
Oh my God, that was such a good game. And the thing about that one, this is what got me into modding games, because there was a breakdown, and this was in the very 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 early days of the internet. So I was, and they had, um, the Borg in that game, but the
Mhm.
Borg were easily defeatable. And I was like, I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't mind losing a game, but if you're going to put the Borg in, put the Borg in the game, and I don't mind losing, but like you were talking about, building an empire, build the fleet up, but have the Borg come and whoop my ass, you know, but have them be strong enough to do that, because have it be just like Wolf 359, where you're going to lose, but it's the fun of building your empire up first and then running from them, So to me, that was the fun of the game, was build your empire up and try to defeat the Borg, even though eventually you're going to lose. So I modified the game so that the Borg were so strong there was no way I could win. Um, and it was so fun modifying that game. And then eventually, like, I was able to add uh Dominion pieces to it,
Mhm.
to do that. It was so fun doing that type of stuff to the game, and adding different Federation type ships and that type of stuff. It was so fun to do. But then eventually my computer crapped out on me, and when I had to throw it away, I was like, oh no. Um, but did you ever play the original Sid Meier's Civilization?
Not the original. I think I played Civilization 3.
Mhm.
I think that's the one I started on. But yeah, no, I played the crap out of that one too. So
Yeah, that whole thing, like that was the first one that got me into, like you're talking about, like building, world building, empire building, like just getting into the nook and crannies of what it takes to survive on, and if not being conquered, and just getting in that
yeah.
whole mindset. But for me, RPGs, like I played the first Final Fantasy for NES, and I didn't even think inside that, I didn't even know that genre existed. To me, video games was just like Mario, running, jumping, A, B. And then my friend, when I got my first Nintendo, he gave me that, or my dad's friend, he gave me that. He was in the Navy, and he was getting out, and he gave me the Nintendo, but it came with Final Fantasy, and he said, "Take care of this game." And I said, "Oh, yes." And I didn't even know what the game was, but I started to play it, and it just opened up my world to what is this? you know, and that still remains my favorite game. Outside Mario 3, that is my favorite game, and probably my favorite RPG, because that was the one that opened my mind up to a new way of thinking, because I didn't know you could play games like that before. You know,
For
um,
for me, it was actually my first like open world type game was Wing Commander Privateer.
mhm,
It is a combat simulator, but they basically drop you in this backwater area of the quadrant in the Wing Commander universe, and they say, "Okay, earn enough money to buy a jump drive and to get out of the system." And it's like, that's it. Like you have a crappy little ship. It's kind of like Firefly. Like you have a crappy little ship with a crappy little gun, and you have afterburners maybe, I think, and
mhm,
like you gotta survive pirates, and they don't pull their punches. Like they're just like, you have to survive pirates, and you have to trade between there's a planet, a mining station, I think two mining stations and a planet in the system. Is okay, you have to
mhm.
trade between these three places to earn enough money to get a jump drive to go to jump out to somewhere else. And then but I mean, it's like it's a huge map of, and I mean, when I first thought that, I mean, it's like you can go anywhere. There is a story in the game, but you have to actually go quite a distance in the game before you get to the story of the game.
Mhm.
Like the story was not the focus. The focus was go between places, earn money, buy a new ship, well, buy a jump drive, get out of there, buy upgrade your weapons, upgrade, you don't even have shields. Like you have literally armor on your vessel when
Mhm.
you first start. So it's like like that was my first experience into it. Like it's not an RPG, but an open world game where you can kind of go wherever you want, and do, and so that's why I was kind of like, whoa, like what am I supposed to do here?
Right. Well, yeah, because like a lot of games, they make you go over here. They make you go
Hmm.
over, but like that was one reason why for for the PS2, yeah, PS2. It was very important for me to get Royce One of my, in fact, it's probably my favorite game for the PS2 called Ultimate Spider-Man. You ever play that game?
Ultimate Spider-Man?
Yeah,
Okay. I think I might have played it, but I'm
it, it's an open world. Did you read the Ultimate Spider-Man comic books in early 2000s?
I know of them.
Stop. Um,
I am not the biggest fan of the Ultimate Universe in the
no,
oh, I
no.
hate the Ultimate Universe in the
What?
yeah.
What? The
No,
Ultimate X.
they and it's not even Ultimate Spider-Man, it was the Ultimates, really. They did
Yeah,
some effed up stuff in there,
yeah,
and so the only thing good that ever came out of the Ultimates universe was Miles Morales. That's it.
yeah.
That to me, that is the I know, I know of the Ultimate Universe, I've seen a lot of the stuff from the Ultimate Universe, like but, I mean, they did some really effed up stuff in that,
Mhm.
and, I mean, they killed Peter Parker. Now, granted, we did get Miles Morales out of it, okay, but, and I mean, they killed a lot of the X-Men off with, like, just, I was like, "No," like, yeah. No, I was so anyway, long story long, I was not a fan of the Ultimate Universe at all.
Well, it's one of those like I picked up I think I picked up the first the Ultimates book um and the Ultimate X-Men book, and I couldn't get into those. Um
Yeah, because they kept killing characters off.
yeah, I couldn't connect with it, and they had this weird um I think it was with uh Scarlet Witch and um the Quicksilver. I think it was those two, the
Yeah,
brother
the
sister.
Twincest, yeah.
Yeah, that was like, what the fuck is that? Like,
That's one
come
of
on.
the things that I'm talking about. I was like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
yeah,
okay."
yeah. To me, it's like you lost me with that. Like I didn't I like I'm not familiar with the X-Men universe, so like I again like I've told you before, like I'm not a Marvel guy. So to me, this was my first like
Oh, I'm
I
so sorry.
yeah I don't to me this was like my and kind of introduction to this universe. And I loved Ultimate Spider-Man. I was picking up trade after trade, and I mean I was picking up individual issues, reading them, going great. I mean, I loved Ultimate Spider-Man so much that I was buying the individual comics, and then when the trade would come out, I'm like, I'll buy it. Because I believe in if you like something enough, pay the money.
Support it, yeah.
Exactly, like a hundred
That's why
percent.
I'm not very big on piracy because I'm like, "Look, I mean, if you like something and you want to watch it, you need to support it." And I understand not everybody has money to do that, but you have to support the things you like. Because if everybody just pirated things, there would be nothing.
Exactly, exactly. Um, but the thing is with that, Ultimate X-Men, I couldn't get into it. It was, that whole thing was just like, I'm good. Um, so, you know, there was, I forget what it was though. There was a character in one of the books, and it was a completely different, and I forget what it was called. His name was like Hawk something, Hawk Owl or something, and it was Ultimate something. Ultimate Adventures, I think it was, but it was a completely original character. But it just happened to take place in this universe, and it was basically their take on Batman. And he had a sidekick, but um, it was a great story. It was kind of their version of Batman and Robin. It didn't have anything really to do with you know readily anything Marvel-ish, anything. It just happened to take place in this universe, and I loved that. Um, but anyway, going down rabbit trails. The ultimate Spider-Man video game, has it. I being a fan of the comic book, I bought the video game, and it's an open world video game. Of course, they have side missions, they have quests and everything, but it was an open world game, and I thought, Royce would love this game, and it was a game that I played, in 2002, 2003, something like that. When it came out, I was like, oh, I love this. Um, and he adores it because you could swing, you could climb buildings, you can you know you know beat up robbers, but Royce mostly just loves jumping on the cars and just riding around the city, because of course him being 4 years old, he loves cars, um, but it's such a fun game, and that's video games are such a great thing to activate the mind, um, as opposed to what my parents thought when I was a kid, which was they'll rot your brains, um,
I
but
think they
the
do a
really
little bit of both. They activate some parts and then rot other parts, I mean,
right, right,
it's a balance.
right. So you have your video game channel. You have, you've made a film. You have, uh, you have NerdTube, um, which is something you spend quite a bit of time working on. You, Zam, Boss Man. How many other people work with you on NerdTube?
I mean, so what it is kind of like the top two are like me and Zam. Like we're the owners of the channel. Gary is like an executive producer. He puts a ton of time in with us. So I mean, we've kind of given him that role of executive producer where it's like he works all he puts a lot of effort into showing up to everything, and anything that he's knowledgeable in. He even does some of his own reviews and stuff. So, and that's what we want from people. If people want to be more involved in the channel, that's what we want. We want them creating their own content, doing things on their own, because as you see, it's kind of a conglomerate. I would say there's probably about 7 or 8 people that we call contributors who are they come and go as they please. They're like, hey, we have a chat as you are a part of, where we say, hey, we're doing a podcast on, or we're doing a video on the most recent Morbius trailer, anyone interested? And and then you can people can jump in, or like Star Trek, I say, hey, we're doing Star Trek Prodigy reviews, does anybody want to join us? And if you're a contributor, it basically means like you're interested in seeing, to joining anything, like if it interests you, we throw everything in that chat, and then the contributors can just latch onto it and be like, yeah, I'll join you for that, let me know what time. So that's kind of where we're at. But yeah, there's probably about 10 to 12 of us all together, that kind of, you'll see them interchange in and out of the channel a lot. It also depends on availability. I mean, nobody gets paid for this. So it's like everybody, it's just like it depends on availability, interest, and whether they like me and Zam or not on that day. So
And that fluctuates. It
yeah,
just
it
depends
definitely
on depends
fluctuates.
which way the wind is blowing. That's and the thing that you guys I think is most interesting is that a lot of YouTube, they'll stick with, okay, we're gonna do just reviews, and that's what they're known for, or they'll be, we're strictly DC, or we're just a wrestling. The thing that I really enjoy, and I when I started noticing your channel more and more and more, um, was the fact, hey, Turkey Bud, how are we doing, bud? You got your car there. Hey, come here, bud. Come here. You want to show everybody your car? Yeah, you just want to lay down here? Okay, that's fine.
Oh, he's not a morning person like me.
One of the things that I think that you you guys did, and that I noticed from the start, when I started noticing you guys popping up more and more, was, you had Zam doing different reviews of different things, and then your guys' chats would be, hey, we're going to review this, trailer that came out, and okay, we're going to go ahead and review this show, and we're going to go ahead and talk about this subject that came out, and you know, it was a lot of different subject matters that, oh, well, I just saw that. Let me tune in and watch. It wasn't just limited to you know, one topic, where now I've got to hunt down a new channel to go watch this one, and a new channel to go watch that one. It was almost like, you know, uh, almost like your DVR where everything's low. I recorded, 5 different channels and it's all right here. It's like I can just stick to this channel and watch the same thing because all my friends are chatting about the same thing here. And that was, it's kind of what I've tried to do on my own channel. Of, hey, anyone who wants to talk about whatever, you know, talk about it. Because it's instead of going to 15 different channels, let's just all talk about it right here. And you guys adopted that same mentality, and without me talking to you guys about that, you did the same thing. And I was like, man, great minds think alike. And I love that about you guys. Is you guys are so smart.
Well, I mean, we just what we do is we just NerdTube's greatest strength is its greatest weakness. Is we love, like, me and Zam and Garrett, like, we all love like a multitude of things. And the problem is that we want to talk about those things. Like, I mean,
Right.
I love Marvel. I'm a Marvel mark. No, hands down, Marvel mark. But I love DC too. And I mean, although, and I want DC to do good. And so does Zam. We dabble in a lot of things because we like a lot of things. So that's why it's like you see we like Star Trek, Star Wars, um Marvel, DC, wrestling. And that's why it's kind of a group effort on the channel, because we can't like all these things all at once. But that's
Right.
why you see so many videos from us. And as I said, it's kind of like What Culture, where it's like maybe one day if we get really popular we can divide it out, but it's like right now it's just like, we have everything together because we want, and that's why people probably get flooded in their sub boxes with us, and they're just like, good God, stop, guys. But we understand people pick and choose. Like, we have, if I post something on Young Justice and like I don't watch this show, well then, skip the vid. It's not that big of a deal. I only do things, Zam only does things that we like doing. Like we're not going to do reviews on something just for the clicks.
Right.
So, I mean, if we enjoy a show or we want a show to be good, like for example, Titans, like we've done review, and you've joined us for those review, like a couple of those reviews, I believe.
Yep.
Um, where we're like, we want these shows to be good because we think there's a good basis there. But then also there's Doom Patrol. Well, we're not going to cover Doom Patrol because not many of us are watching it. You know what I mean? So it's, we're not trying to pigeonhole ourselves into like DC, Marvel, Star Wars, Star Trek. Like we just review things that we like. And honestly, if someone comes along and they say, "Oh God, I love Doom Patrol. I always watch Doom Patrol. It's like one of my favorite shows ever." And if they're active in the channel, we'd be like, "Do a review."
Yeah.
And if any of us watch it, we will join you. That's kind of where we're at now. I mean, it's not like an open invitation. There's kind of a process to get into being a collaborator and then an executive producer. And all it really is you show up when you can, you put the effort in, you communicate with us, and then if it's as you
As
gain
you
our
build the
trust.
trust. Yeah.
Yeah, then you work your way up the rungs. But I mean, but we're open to anybody joining. Like, like, if you are interested, if we are doing a review on Doom Patrol and you want to come in, like, or if you're like, oh, I love Doom Patrol, but I want to, and I say that because it's like I kind of wish I was doing reviews on Doom Patrol, but I'm not caught up on it. So that's why Doom Patrol always comes to my mind. But it's like, I watch Doom Patrol, but you guys don't do reviews on it, and it's like, join us for a couple other podcasts DC related or whatever, or just make suggestions. Just be like, look, hey, why don't you guys do a video on, talking about all of the DC streaming shows, and I'll join you. Okay. If we can get it, if we can fit it on the slate, we're always looking for content that's like on our off days that we can just bank. So,
Well, I tell you, that was one thing. Like back going for the first season of Batwoman, I decided I would review that show because at the time I was still trying to find my footing besides just making fan films, and I was like, well, this is a show that I plan to watch, and I'll review The Flash as well. Um, and I figured, well, I could probably review two shows and still do it pretty well. Um, and I hadn't discovered StreamYards yet. I mean, I'm sure I probably would have kept with it if I had StreamYards, because doing something StreamYard wise is fairly easy. But when you record something on the side and then you have to upload it to YouTube, that tends to take a little bit longer than just doing a StreamYard, being like, all right, here we go, we're good. It kind of takes one step out of it. Um, it's a lazy man's way of doing something. If especially if you're not editing anything.
Well,
Um,
I would consider that an efficient man's way of doing
yeah,
things. I mean, there's a difference between
there you go.
laziness and efficiency because I agree with you. Like the if you look at at my YouTube channel and my Twitch, I have like assembly line content for my gaming. Like I don't go in and do massive edits and stuff like that. Like I go in and I just take out all the dead points where it's like I walk away from my desk or something like that to grab
Right,
water or something. But like it is very assembly line content. Like I record something, I jot down the times that I'm away from my desk so I know where to go in and pull it out and then I upload it. You
right.
know what I mean? So, I mean, it's efficient, and I mean, so StreamYards, especially with YouTube videos and stuff, makes it way more efficient for you to do these things. So that's why, I agree with you. Like I wouldn't say it's lazy. I'd say it's efficiency.
Yeah, absolutely. But I tried to do Batgirl. I got through about probably 6 or 7 episodes, and I was like, I can't do this. I hate this show, and I was trying to be positive, um, and I just couldn't do it. And like the views just weren't there to justify. Um, and then when the second season came, I was like, with Ruby Rose leaving and us getting this new lady, maybe this is the perfect, this is kind of a soft reboot. Let me give this another shot. So I tried it again. I got through maybe 3 episodes, and I was like, again, this is just not for me. The views aren't here. I'm not enjoying this. This is nope. I need to just stick with what I enjoy. Even if the views aren't there, at least I enjoy what
Mhm.
I'm doing, and that's
Yeah.
where I think you guys excel. You guys aren't looking at, hey, this is what'll get us the most views. You guys do it simply because you enjoy it. And
Yeah, no,
that's
there's definitely, and honestly, some of the times where we think, "Oh god, this," because like when I first started doing Young Justice reviews for season 4, I was like, "Yeah, this ain't gonna get us many views, but I like Young Justice and I want to talk about it."
yeah,
And my first episode 1 and 2 got into the triple digits, which I was shocked. I'm like, I was thinking single digits, to be honest. I'm like, I'll get a couple views out of this, whatever. No, it's like it's in the hundreds, maybe almost in the 200s now, and I'm like, okay, so there's a there, I'm glad that there's a fan base here looking for Young Justice reviews. When we first started doing reviews, we started with Star Trek Discovery, and we were like, well, it's Star Trek, so there's not going to be many views. Back then, which is different than now, but back then, those Star Trek reviews got more views than Marvel stuff, DC stuff, even Star Wars stuff. Our Mandalorian stuff tanked, but that's just because there's so many
so
people out
much.
there talking about it.
Yeah,
So, I mean, if we had two niches that I would say in our channel, like deep niches, I would say it's definitely Star Trek and wrestling because our Star Trek and wrestling stuff do really well. Now, we don't just stick to that because we do like those things and we definitely cover those things. But, those two things really, for some reason, man, we people gravitate to us for the wrestling and the Star Trek. I mean, I don't know why. I mean, we only have, Star Trek fan films on there.
well, that's also something else that you guys provide that 99% of the people out there don't, is you guys provide, fan film reviews, and most people don't. Most people stick to regular film reviews, but you guys have also dabbled in, reviewing content that is a niche inside of a niche. Most people don't. And you guys have tiptoed into that, and well, you did tiptoe. You guys have now, I'd say, jumped full in. You guys are now, I'd say, a welcomed part of an extended part of the community. They know you now, or at least a small part of the community knows who you are, and welcomed you. Josh, Pixie, some of the other content creators, they know, at least they know your channel. Uh, by reputation, they know you. And that's because you guys have reviewed, you know, and that's something that most channels don't. They don't find it worth their time. Or if they do review, they'll review like a Star Trek Continues or Star Trek Phase Two. But you guys have taken the time to review, the smaller productions, and that's something, again, they'll not get necessarily the clicks, but you guys have taken the time to do that, and I think that builds a community. Um, gaining that audience over to your channel. Again, that's community building, and that's something that I think's very intelligent. Grassroots, I think, is a very strong way to
Yeah.
build it.
I mean, we started this back. I mean, I made the suggestion for it. Originally, it was called Fan Film Commentaries, just because we were going to talk. Like, I felt it was more of a commentary because it was, we kind of talked during the film. So we were at this point. We were like, we want people who have seen these films already to come and look at our commentary of it. It's not like, I we do like my original intent was we didn't want people to come and watch the film for the first time with us. I mean,
Right,
we're honored if you do, but at the same time, you're not getting the full experience of the fan film if you haven't watched. So, I mean, like, if you ever do, I mean, like, pause the video, and that's why I try to put the link in all of the videos. If you come to our video, pause the video, go watch the original fan film because we want you to get that fan film experience at first. Because so I mean, it still is kind of fan film commentary, but we call it fan film reactions because that has a little bit more pop to it.
right,
And
right,
we react to it live. Like, we
right,
do not like I usually watch maybe about 1 or 2 minutes of a fan film just to see if it's something that we can actually like. If it looks like and we review good fan films and bad fan films. I don't discriminate, like, where it's like, like, if it's gonna be bad, it's gonna be bad. If it's gonna be good, it's gonna
right.
be good. We don't sit there and, like, watch it and then review it and write notes and stuff like. No, you're getting our live, verbatim, not verbatim, whatever. Our live reactions to that fan film because usually, Zam and anyone who is with us does not have any, like, they have not seen the film or anything like that, and we say so. Like, if one of us has seen the film, we say it in the beginning. We say, "Oh, yeah, I've seen this one," like, this is a good, this is a good one, or this is a bad one, or whatever, so, and 9 times out of 10, though, there's so much content out there, and we don't do just Star Trek. We do Star Wars. We've done recently some Terminator that's been done by request. We do some superhero stuff. We
Indiana
do
Jones.
Indiana Jones. Yeah, that's more Zam's department, but I mean, and we've done some Indiana Joneses, and stuff like that, but we've really kind of dabbled outward from just because it started as a Star Trek and Star Wars fan films, and it just kind of dabbled outwards into all these other genres that we had no idea had fan film bases. But I would definitely say, like, our, obviously the grassroots and the most popular in, pop culture is Star Trek fan films. I mean, they're notorious and they're
Well, yeah,
everywhere.
they have the most. There's so many of them out there. I mean, you could have a checklist right now, and by tomorrow you'll have another five added to it. I mean, you'll never have a complete list.
Yeah.
That's one of those things. You throw a rock, you'll hit another one. That's just kind of the nature of the beast. But that's
Mhm.
that, like I said, that's one thing that your channel has. You know, uh, if there's one word that could describe NerdTube, it's variety. And it's been a pleasure to see your channel grow from. I think when I first saw your channel, I think it had like 197 people, and now you guys are, spit's distance away from 1,000. At first my goal was, to help you guys get 1,000 before Christmas. Frank and I were talking yesterday. I was like, oh, they'll hit 1,000 before Thanksgiving, but hell, I think you'll hit 1,000 before the week's end. I really do.
That'd be
Yeah,
nice. I mean,
yeah,
we put a lot of effort into it, and I mean, but we love the problem. As I said, NerdTube's greatest strength is its greatest weakness. Is that we review the stuff we love, and I mean, it's not that we're unwilling to look at other stuff, but we're already so busy as is, and we're kind of, I don't want to say we're an open format, but as I said, if somebody's like, "Oh, I really wish you guys did reviews on this," chat with us, reach out to us. Like, we want people who want to be a part of this community to do things with this channel. It is not
right,
just the Me and Zam show. Me and Zam are the owners of the channel, but we also have executive producers, and there are open executive because we've kind of set up a format where we're like, look, you got your owners, you got your executive producers, and your contributors. For people who just want to kind of show up and pick and choose what they do, that contributors is for you. We'd love to have you whenever you're available and whenever we're doing something. Executive producer is like, okay, you're putting more effort in, you're taking more of the initiative. You're a channel manager. and stuff like that. And that's kind of the executive producers where you're at. We do want more executive producers because we do want more people doing more stuff with the channel.
Well, and that's the thing. I think the passion certainly comes through. You guys are always reaching out. You guys are working. You guys have worked with Frank and I on Critical Not Cynical several times. You guys have reached out and invited us to your channel several times. You guys are really inviting to what you guys do. Um, if anybody in the chat, uh, granted, I know this isn't live, so you guys, you know, can't ask questions. I wish you guys could ask questions, but feel free to click over to their link and ask them questions on any one of their videos. They're very quick to reply. Um, go subscribe to them. Ask a question on any one of their videos. Watch a video. Click the like button on it. Ask a question. Talk to them. They're very open people. They're great people. Um, but go subscribe to them. Support them. Especially these smaller channels. They're a lot better than the bigger channels. Because the bigger channels they don't take the time out to talk to the people. They're either more worried about the money they get from their Patreons or their chat things, the money chat, whatever. Um, these guys, they take the time to talk to the people, you know, and the passion's there in the content that they give out, So go over and subscribe. Um, but we've almost hit the hour mark. Is there anything that you have that you want to talk to the people about before we end the show for the day?
No, I mean, just I just my various projects apparently. The gaming channel we forgot to mention, it's called Milk Toast Gaming.
Uh-huh.
I'll send you a link so you can throw it in the box. I have a Twitch and a YouTube. Anything that I play on Twitch goes on YouTube as kind of to archive it. So, and there's a plethora of things on there thus far. I've been doing it for a little over a year. And as I said, there's more than just me doing it. There's my kids. There's my girlfriend. She's played tons of Resident Evil on there. And myself, which I play tons of games because I'm a loser anyway. So yeah, I mean, that's really, I mean, that's one of the, I mean, obviously NerdTube, you've done a great job plugging that. Milk Toast Gaming, I'd like to plug that. I mean, it's a small little channel, and it's not that I want it to grow. I mean, I just want it, just put it out there. I play. I have a different approach to like YouTubing. Like I don't go and just play the real trendy games because I don't play the real trendy games because they're trending right now. I play the games that I like to play, and I want to build a community around people who like those type of games, which is, kind of those RPG, classic and new format and stuff like that. So, for me, as I said, my kids play, they play a lot of kid games, and my girlfriend, she only plays Resident Evil right now. She's not a huge gamer, but she actually wants to get into Tomb Raider, the new ones. So as I said, there's a different there's a mix of classic versus new age and stuff like that. So
Something that for everybody to kind of watch and look.
yeah, again, it's something for everybody. I mean, I like my variety.
Well, right on, man. Well, we'll have a link to that description. There'll be a link for NerdTube. There'll be a link for Milk Toast Gaming.
Milk Toast Gaming,
There
not
we go.
MILK. It's actually one of my friends, Ginger, would always we were playing the Avengers game, and the new
Mm.
one, and I promise we'll wrap up before an hour. Um, and he basically we were going back and forth. I said, "Oh, this is all right. This is an all right game." And he's like, "You know what? Listen, I don't even want your advice from a milk toast gamer." And I'm like, "A milk toast gamer?" I'm like, What are you talking about?" Like I don't even know what that means. So I looked it up, and I mean, it is kind of me. Like I kind of like. I mean, I don't, like I give games like I don't like super complicated games. I like kind of like the stuff that I don't want to say basic because it's not basic, but like I'm not as hard on video
Easy,
games.
easy to grasp.
Huh?
Easy to grasp.
No, not even easy to grab. Just like I'm not as hard on video games. Like I don't expect like the universe from my video games. I just expect to have a good time.
Mhm.
That's the origin story behind that name. Anyway, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
I'll say for me, video games like I I I couldn't I could barely handle like I could handle on some games I could handle the N64. Like I could play Mario Kart 64. That's my favorite racing game. Like I could handle that. But Mario Kart 64, I could do Mario 64. Um, but like I found that controller somewhat difficult. I can't play the Xbox because there's so many buttons to it. I get confused. And like my little nephew, whenever he wants to play the the fighting games on his controller, like I feel like I need to elbow him in the face because I can't fight worth nothing. Like I'm a very simple gamer. So like to me it's like that's why I go back to the older systems because like I get so confused on that stuff. So yeah, I can't. I'm I'm very easy to please on a video game. If I can run and jump and steer the stick, I'm good. So yeah, I'm more easy to just sit there and I can watch someone else play a video game. I used to sit there when I was a kid. I'd be like, man, it's so boring. I want to play it. Now I'm just like, no, I'll watch you play because I'll screw it up. So
Yeah, that's
channels
where
like
I'm at too sometimes. I'm like, "Yeah, I could play this game, but why not just watch it?"
yeah, exactly. Like I'll fail it. I know. I'll let you go succeed. So at least one of us will win. So. But anyway, your channel will be in the chat, Milk Toast Gaming and Mirror Two. Both those will be in the chat. So everybody, please go give both those channels a subscription and a like on. Go watch a video. If you think you like it, so hit a like button. If you don't think you'll like it, go ahead and dislike button. Either way, it'll bring bring them some type of notoriety to the channel and let them know you paid some type of attention. So either way, let them know you care. So with that being said, brother, I want to say thank you for joining me today. Royce would say thank you, but he's passed out. Right,
I
right.
envy him right now.
Yeah, he's the only smart one in the bunch. My voice is fading. You look half tired. So
I'm
that being
I'm just
said,
not a morning person. Ooh.
right. So that being said, man, I want to say honestly, thank you for doing the show with me, man. Uh, and you know, I know over the past few months, you've been one of the better friendships that I've had, and I want to say thanks. It's been a pleasure getting to know you and working with you in every capacity. It's been a pleasure to see everything you've accomplished, and I can't wait to see what you guys do. Um, so, with that
All
being
right.
said, everybody in the chat, be genuine, be safe, and keep on geeking on, guys.